it is the central banks and their purchasing that has certainly put a floor underneath the price of gold. But if I had a gun to my head, I would tell you that it should be a hell of a lot higher based upon what we see in the world right now. And the fact that it's not is a testament to the Western ability to control the narrative until they can't.
Financial expert Andy Schectman discusses the reasons why gold should be valued much higher than it currently is. He points to unprecedented gold accumulation by central banks, including the wealthiest and most informed traders globally. Schectman argues that flawed inflation metrics and negative real interest rates are masking gold's true value. He highlights a significant shift where gold is now considered a safer investment than U.S. Treasuries, challenging the long-standing belief in Treasuries as the safest option. Schectman emphasizes the declining trust in the U.S. dollar, citing moves by major economies away from dollar settlement and towards gold-backed systems. He underscores the manipulation of commodity markets and warns of an imminent shift that could reshape the global financial landscape. Schectman's insights provide a clear perspective on the undervaluation of gold amidst complex economic dynamics. Here's his explanation.
And gold should be a whole hell of a lot higher than it is. That's the truth of it, is that you have over the last 18 months, not only the wealthiest, most well-funded, but also the most well-informed traders on the planet accumulating gold at record levels that no one's ever seen before. And that being the central banks. And when you have massive central bank purchasing, I think it certainly is one big reason why gold has held up well in the face of supposedly real rates being positive. And I would argue that that's really not true either, because first of all, gold and real rates are supposed to move inverse of each other. That's called Gibson's paradox. But I think the market understands that the inflation metrics by which the CPI gauges rising costs is flawed, that real interest rates are still negative. But what you are seeing, I think, is a realization. Look, for the first time in 45 years, U.S. Treasuries now have a higher downside volatility than gold. Okay, and another way of saying that is that Treasuries are no longer the safest alternative. And that's a very, very damning statement, because the Treasury market has always been considered the safest, most liquid market on the planet. And when measured against performance, for the first time in 45 years, gold is now considered a safer, less volatile investment than U.S. Treasuries. Think of the tier one revision of gold now for a moment, where prior to April of 2019, since the end of World War II, there's been one tier one reserve asset for central banks. That's been U.S. dollars and U.S. Treasuries. Well, a couple of years ago in 2019, the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, quietly reclassifies gold as the only other tier one reserve asset. And the acquisition of gold by the central banks using the Western market suppression, the paper market suppression, has enabled them, even with the suppression of paper, to drain the cupboard so much of investable silver that the price is rising. And again, I think that it is the central banks and their purchasing that has certainly put a floor underneath the price of gold. But if I had a gun to my head, I would tell you that it should be a hell of a lot higher based upon what we see in the world right now. And the fact that it's not is a testament to the Western ability to control the narrative until they can't. And I've been very fond of a term called logarithmic decay. Little by little by little by little by little by little, then bang, all at once. That's how Hemingway went broke. Little by little, then all at once. That's what you would experience if you were on the Niagara River approaching the falls. And so the bottom line is that this is a situation where the biggest money in the world understands where we're going. They are using the suppressed and massively over-leveraged Western paper market system to run cover for their repositioning and de-dollarizing, enough so that it is actually able to allow gold to quietly rise. I mean, look at it this way as well. Look at last week, gold hit its all-time high against the second and third largest economies in the world, in China and Japan. Gold is at all-time highs against most currencies. It's the fact that the dollar, being the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry hamper, is blurring gold's role as being a safe haven asset in times of instability. The rest of the world understands that people in this country have been blinded by a dollar that is irrationally strong until it's not. And certainly seeing the fact that the first time in almost 50 years that gold is considered less volatile than the treasury market, this is a phenomenon that I think might wake up certainly the people in this country sooner than later. So we are witnessing a transition away from the dollar, where all of this settlement outside the dollar will eventually affect the reserve status of the US dollar, and not until they have a block substantial enough in size will they come out and flip the switch, which could very quickly reshape the global landscape in a matter of seconds. I mean, look, you have Saudi Arabia, the linchpin of the dollar hegemony, now is in BRICS and is signed up with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, told everyone they'll take oil and other currencies. This is just the very beginning. And when the switch is flipped, they will have to use something to peg to a new system to gain immediate credibility, transparency, and integrity. And that's what gold will do for you. That's what blockchain technology will do for you if done the right way. People say, well, who will trust China? Well, who the hell trusts us anymore? I mean, look at the things that are happening in this country. And I would argue that the Fed realizes that now, that the bond market is bigger than they are, and that the market rates are rising because it is a lack of trust in this country and in the faith of this country. And I think that's beginning to erode, and you're seeing bond yields rise as a result of it. And I don't care all the movements or manipulations in the world that the Fed thinks that they can intervene in a market as big as the US bond market, when the rest of the world says we've had enough of your massive debt accumulation, we've had enough of your wars, enough of your hypocrisy, enough of your coercion, enough of your meddling. And by the way, you're going green. You don't need oil anymore from OPEC or Saudi Arabia. So we're all joining this new union that represents the majority of humanity, and it's not going green. And we don't like the way you're doing things anymore. So that's it. And I think it's a very simplistic way of saying that's kind of the big picture. And little by little by little by little, it changes until bang, the dollar is no longer the sole settlement currency, and gold is backing a new system. So for those people who look away from gold because of this moment in time in August where the BRICS said, well, let's pause a little bit, we'll come back next year, do it the right way, instead of shotgunning it the way the US does, reactionary. No, let's do it the right way. Let's have a big enough group of people with enough influence and enough control of the global commodity structure where it really makes sense when we flip the switch. And so, if anything, this is a gift for those people who haven't yet realized where we are and where we're going. And I would simply say this, Kai, that if it were just price, fine. Okay, it doesn't make sense. It's counterintuitive, but that's exactly what they're doing. That's why they are taking advantage of the manipulated, over-rehypothecated, over-leveraged COMEX and LBMA price setting system that allows them to pickpocket the world's commodities, whoever's dumb enough to let go of them at these prices. And that's why they're not bitching. Once they own it all, I think what they will do is they will move the price setting mechanism to one of two places, either Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates, who has joined BRICS, or the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And the COMEX and the LBMA will be exposed long before that for what they are, a rehypothecated leverage system, where right now, today, there is 1,600, almost 1,700% more paper contracts in the silver market than there are bars behind it. Do you see a problem there? And At some point, this just becomes too big for the Fed to handle. And you add on top of it, the big banks around the world, China and Saudi Arabia and Japan, they're dumping treasuries. So you have treasuries being sold, you have interest rates rising, you have a banking system that's on edge. You have all of this stuff happening all at once. People should be flocking to gold. And what blurs it and what throws them off the scent is the fact that you can rehypothecate, you can manipulate and distort the commodity structure so much so that people don't notice it, except the people pulling the strings, and they're the ones buying it at pennies on the dollar.
In conclusion, Andy Schectman's analysis sheds light on the intricate forces shaping the gold market and the global financial landscape. His insights challenge conventional wisdom, revealing the hidden factors influencing gold's true worth. As we navigate a complex world of shifting economies and evolving financial systems, Schectman's perspective urges us to reconsider our understanding of gold's value. Stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions on finance and economics right here on our channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the latest updates. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, happy investing.